there is no point working on mindset and fear if your kid has so severe gut issues that they are in pain essentially when they are eating. There is no point in any of the therapy. You're not going to make any progress. All right, welcome back to another episode of How to Unpick Your Picky Eater. And this is hopefully going to be a game-changing episode for you. Now, we are talking about the profile of your individual picky eater. And this is I am so incredibly proud and incredibly excited for what I have created here. I have created a really unique and specific quiz. So this quiz that I've created will break down some 6 areas of your child's feeding. Now, feeding encompasses a lot of different things, right? So it encompasses the gut, right? If there is an issue with your child's gut to a sensitivity, an allergy, or even a previous one, reflux, any sort of pain, discomfort, those are all almost, not every child that has that problem is going to become a picky eater, but there is very, very likely going to be some sort of an issue with food at some point, right? Almost all of our kids that are picky eaters and have had gut problems, they went on essentially to become picky eaters. Sensory, huge, right? Sensory. Now, there are 8 different sensory systems. A lot of people just think the 5 senses, but there are actually 8 systems that work for feeding, right? So are those systems all sort of working together harmoniously? Or are we not loving touch so much? Or is our interoception, feelings about, are we able to perceive, when we are not feeling well, or when we're backed up, or when we're have to go to the bathroom? Like, that is like interoception. So are all of those systems working correctly? Or is there an area that might be affecting the feeding, right? Oral motor. This is a huge area. Actually, I can say every picky eater that has ever come to our clinic has always had oral motor problems. I've never seen every picky eater in the entire world, so I can't for sure say that that is the case for every child, and I will not do that. But I can say, just based on my own anecdotal study of our own clients and who comes to us, there is always some sort of an oral motor issue. Even if minor, there's usually something that can be improved, right? And a lot of parents, this is an area that I find parents and professionals totally overestimate with their ability. A lot of parents tell me that they see that their child chews food no problem. I can't tell you how many times I've heard I've gotten on reports from other feeding therapists, no trouble with mastication, no trouble chewing, no oral motor issues identified, right? But then when I see them, here's what I see. I see food all over their mouth when they're eating. Not on the outside, on the inside. It's not supposed to be scattered about. It's supposed to be cohesive in a ball. You're supposed to swallow it in one swallow. I see kids that take multiple swallows to chew foods. I see kids munching foods, not doing that full rotary adult-like chewing. And you might think, well, why would a kid be doing an adult rotary chew? Because that comes in by the time they're 2. They should have that chew. That adult chew, kids should be able to eat all types of food by the time they are 2. Okay. So if you have a 5-year-old that is still munching like an 8-month-old, you have a delayed oral motor skill. right? So something's happening there that shouldn't be happening. But I find a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, no, I see them. They're chewing." And I see their tongue munching and pushing the food into their palate to get it to go back to swallow. I don't see good oral motor skills, but if you're not trained to know what to look for, you're going to just think, well, they put food in their mouth and then it goes down. So I guess they're chewing it, right? That is a huge misconception. And honestly, again, I will tell you, just like I did in the other episode earlier this month, none of my training as a, when I got my master's or my undergrad degree, it did not train me to properly assess oral motor. And you might think, well, that should obviously be part of that training. I agree, but it was not. So just because you took your child to a speech pathologist and they said that there is no oral motor issues with your picky eater, I would double check this because there probably is. They might just not have had the proper training yet. And they might not know that they need the proper training yet, which is personally that like kills me because again, I'm first to admit I thought that I was doing it right because I was a trained licensed speech pathologist, but once I learned more about oral motor, I realized how much I had missed, right? So now I know exactly what to look for. But I can't stress enough that this area, parents and professionals overestimate kids' oral motor abilities that don't have the training to properly dissect what muscles are weak and how to remediate them. Okay. So that is a key piece to picky eating that if you have not explored yet, I highly suggest that you do. And if you're not sure how to, I mean, of course, our program, um, we can do that for you. You would want to ask the therapist what kind of oral motor training they've received. Um, Talk tools programs are fantastic. If you are a therapist and you're like, hey, you know what? I need to get up on my oral motor game. Please take some Talk Tools courses. They are fantastic. They are by no means the only courses, but I would say they are well done. They are easy to follow and you will learn a lot. And they are affordable, right? So it's a good place to start. Um, okay, so there's three more um, sections of our picky eater profile that we are going to go over here. But first, if you are stuck with your picky eater, I do have a brand new revamped free guide called Navigating the Plate, the Ultimate Guide to Understanding and Remediation of Picky Eating. So this free ebook you can get in our Instagram bio. Download it. It's free. You can also find it if you're on YouTube down below in the description. I have a link for it as well. But back to the picky eater profile. Okay. So the environment is also a big factor, right? So a lot of times, part of our process is we actually will, even if you don't come to our clinic, we will observe a session or not a session, a meal or snack, or just even some snippets of a meal or snack in videos in your house. So we want to see what the mealtime environment looks like, where your child is sitting. All of these things can play roles in, how we are going to remediate the picky eating, right? So environment, positioning, chairs, right? That all kind of falls under that environment piece. Okay. We also have fear, which fear sort of I say is like a symptom that sort of develops from some of these other areas, but it's a piece that I want to know about, right? So this quiz that I've created, it has some questions that touch on this topic of fear because I have to know, is your child fine trying foods and they just spit it out? They can't handle it for different reason, or are they actually fearful? Will they not even taste and try new foods, right? So that how they approach foods is going to change how we approach them with, our remediation. So, what is their status, I guess, when it comes to fear? Are they fearful of food? Are they not? And mindset. And it's not just their mindset. I want to know a little bit about your mindset too, right? So these 6 areas. Now, what I have done, um, I'm really excited about this because what it does is it's not a diagnosis. So I don't want you to take this quiz and go to your provider and say, this I took this quiz and now we have a diagnosis of gut issues and oral motor issues. That's not what it is. A diagnosis is something that's given by a trained professional who can evaluate um, symptoms and differentially tease out what is the underlying reason, essentially causing your problem, right? That's not what this quiz is. This quiz is a general idea, but this general idea is a lot more than parents usually get. A lot of parents, even if you go to a feeding therapist, you might get just sort of a general response. We get this a lot. Oh, I went to a feeding therapist and they said that it was a behavioral issue. Now, behavior is a symptom caused by one of these 6 things. Behavior is not the cause usually of the picky eating. So, what we're doing is we are trying to identify the greatest areas that are contributing to your child's struggle. It gives you an idea. It's not a diagnosis, it's not a replacement for going to a therapist who knows how to diagnose, right? But it will give you some guidance. Okay. So, like, for example, each of those categories is from 0 to 100. 100 is the most severe, like, yep, you've got all the red flags. Okay. 0 is like not at all a concern. So each section is from 0 to 100, right? So, for example, if gut was like 90%, but sensory was like 5%, right? Then okay, well, I know where to work on now. We better get the gut issues checked out. And, you know, for me, for when we start to see and we evaluate people in our program, that's what we do when we assess is we sort of do that for parents of like, hey, this is where we're seeing the greatest issues. And not just that, this is the order you would do it in because there is no point working on mindset and fear if your kid has so severe gut issues that they are in pain essentially when they are eating, there is no point in any of the therapy is you're not going to make any progress. We got to figure out the gut stuff first, right? So there's specific sometimes orders to what you're going to do and when, because if you do it in the wrong order, you might not see any progress. Okay. So we want to get this information. And just even as you, as a parent, knowing this information is super valuable because you will be able to say, like, okay, you know what? I see that there's a lot of, let's just say, oral motor issues. I see that the oral motor seems really high and we've never addressed that. Maybe that's why progress is so slow. Maybe that's why we're not seeing, any movement there, right? So it's just sort of a guide to sort of alert you to, well, what are your child's areas of strength and weakness when it comes to feeding? So we know what to target and in what order. Okay, so if you at the end, we actually have the overall sensitivity to feeding challenges. So, for example, if it is 100, it would be, oh my gosh, you have a lot of feeding challenges. Definitely. I don't think I've ever seen a 100, but the idea is yes. There's a lot of issues, and you definitely should get some sort of help, right? And, maybe you'll take it and you might think, man, I thought this was so much worse, but it's saying that the severity is actually a 10, right? So maybe there's just a few minor tweaks that I can do to see some of the progress that I'm looking for, right? So it just kind of gives you some guidance, overall for these different areas, these 6 areas, as well as the overall severity, right? So that was my goal, is to give parents this information. And I actually did it. It was a little tricky to create, but it is a custom quiz that we have created exclusively for foodology feeding parents. So if you are interested in this quiz, we actually have it available in our Unlocking Mealtimes course, which is usually just $30. Um, Sometimes we will run that course for free, when we are promoting or launching our Picky Plate to Clean Slate course. But if you want to take that quiz right today, you can register for that workshop. It's an hour-and-a-half workshop, and that quiz is a part of it. And it will give you some strategies and things you can start with right away. And you also get that quiz with it too. So that is available on our website at foodologyfeeding.com/courses. Right? Now, if that seems interesting to you, I would definitely try it. The the cost of the course, I feel like, is like nothing. Like, I feel like that the value you get in that quiz is probably worth like $100 to $200. I'm telling you, there are absolutely assessments that we have gotten from other providers that do not give that sort of information to us at all. And I'm like, okay, well, we can't really use this. This isn't telling me anything about your child's issues. We have to do our own assessment. So just having this information is so valuable. I honestly, truly, from the bottom of my heart, feel that. And I do hope now that you are able to find that helps you. Now, if you do download our free guide, there is actually a coupon code for Unlocking Mealtimes. Okay, so you will download that guide and you will get a coupon code for a discount to that course as well. So you can get actually the quiz and the Unlocking Mealtimes workshop for a discount. So if you're interested, definitely download our free guide to get started and get into Unlocking Mealtimes. I think it's going to be the start of a game-changing year for you, honestly. Um, and um, and that's just truly how I feel. I'm really excited for parents to try this quiz. I think the value is tremendous. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that to families at a very, very reasonable cost. Um, so please let me know, your comments and your thoughts about, which areas do you think that your child is struggling with feeding? Which of these 6 areas? Is it gut, sensory, oral motor, environment, fear, mindset? Is that where do you feel your child is struggling most? And, if you do this quiz, is it about what you expected, or was there an area that you were just sort of taken aback by and you were like, oh my gosh, I had never even considered that this was a struggle, and here we are, right? So definitely check that out. Let us know. And we're excited for next week's episode too, where we're going to talk about the missing puzzle piece of feeding. So stay tuned. Make sure, if you haven't already, that you subscribe so you don't miss anything. We have content planned every single day on Instagram and YouTube for 2024. So don't miss anything. Make sure you subscribe today. Thanks, and I will see you soon.
Thank you for listening to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. To learn more about achieving your child's feeding goals, check out Christine's website at foodologyfeeding.com. And be sure to tune in next time to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater.